This ain't the black man's game. This ain't the white man's game.
It's
this
the
is the money game.
But
we in the money game. And
We're
you
in the money
cannot
game.
sacrifice yourself.
Lies. I didn't say anything that made me look in a good light. I wasn't tearing down others to boost myself up.
Monique just jumped on board with Katt Williams, and together, they're spilling the tea on the not-so-pretty side of the comedy world. Now, everyone's talking about it and wondering who they're pointing fingers at this time. To kick things off, Katt Williams really stirred things up during his chat on Club Shay, January 4th, but he saved his harshest words for Steve Harvey. Remember Steve, the guy who watched Mark Curry's sitcom and then, according to Williams, copied the whole thing? In that interview, Williams basically said that now Steve is someone who has his own show, how he's always playing a principal and is always in a suit. That he even went on to say that he has this high top fade and acts like he's the king of hairlines, but Katt said that it's all fake. He didn't stop there either. When it comes to movies, Steve has said that he never wanted to be a movie star, but Williams called him out, saying that that's the guy who threw shade at Bernie Mac. Williams basically went on to say that there are 30,000 new scripts in Hollywood every year, but none of them want a guy who talks funny and looks like Mr. Potato Head. Yep, he was talking about Steve Harvey. Have a look for yourself.
Every year, not one of them asked for a country bumpkin black dude that can't talk good over KB and look like Mr. Potato Head. There ain't none. You would have to have.
And that's not all. Williams even shared why he said no to being in the original Kings of Comedy. He knows the real story. He's like, you think I'm gonna let you disrespect Bernie and then expect me to join? I'm the next big thing. He pointed out that everyone thought Steve was funnier than Bernie while Bernie was still around. Williams was clear. It was Steve's tour. He was meant to be the star. He's telling everyone to see the truth.
And y'all thought y'all had one over on him. You thought he was black and ugly, and you were good looking, and he couldn't make it because you did.
Meanwhile, Monique's been expressing her own grievances about Steve Harvey's way of doing things in the industry, especially when it comes to sidelining other comedians. So there was this one time on Steve Harvey's talk show where Monique, the comedian and actress, opened up about being branded as troublesome. She and her husband manager, Sydney Hicks, got this label for standing their ground. The folks behind the movie Precious wanted her to do extra Oscar campaign work, but Monique was straight up and declined the offer.
Now, I said no to some very powerful people. I said no to Oprah Winfrey. I said no to Tyler Perry. I said no to Lee Daniels. And I said no to Lionsgate.
But that's not even the most interesting part. Of course, she felt let down by those in her own community, like Oprah, Tyler, Lee Daniels, and she has added Steve Harvey to that list. She's like, all I knew was that I was in the right. You even told me, Monique, you're not wrong. But what really got to her was how Steve Harvey criticized her publicly without even having a heart-to-heart with her first. She felt totally betrayed by that move.
And when I heard you go on the air and you said, my sister done burnt too many bridges, and there's nothing I can do for her now. Steve, do you know how hurt
Back in January 2018, Monique, who hails from Baltimore, made some noise when she called for a boycott on Netflix. She was fired up about gender and racial discrimination because they offered her only $500,000 for a comedy special. That's peanuts compared to the millions dished out to Amy Schumer, Chris Rock, and Dave Chappelle. Chatting with Steve Harvey, Monique shared how her family felt the pinch after the Oscar drama and the Netflix deal going south. But what really got to her was how other well-known African Americans in Hollywood, including Steve, didn't publicly have her back. When she questioned Steve about why she didn't stand with her, his answer was all about the money. He said that this is the money game and it's not really about black or white. As per him, it's all about the bucks. Monique fired back at him instantly, saying before it's a money game, it's about integrity. But Steve's take was a head-scratcher. He basically said money trumps integrity every time. It's wild, right? His bluntness about putting cash over principles left many stunned. It really makes you question his values. This attitude of keeping quiet even when things are rough, especially for those close to him, just to protect his wallet, that's a big red flag. Now, perhaps Steve wanted to portray a realistic angle of the world. Unfortunately, that's not what he was communicating. This is exactly what Katt Williams was getting at earlier in his critique of Steve Harvey. He hinted that there's not much substance under Steve's charming surface, pointing out the unsettling priorities that seem to drive Harvey's reactions.
pay you to not talk about things they don't want you to talk about.
So, after Monique's interview with Steve, she revealed that there was a lot left out from their conversation. Picture this: two friends finally having that much-needed open and honest talk, but there was so much we didn't get to see. Monique mentioned how she confronted a man who she's known for 25 years about privately supporting her but not doing so publicly, and much of it was edited out. Later on, Steve came forward expressing regret over his words to the comedian. He's taking full responsibility, realizing he needs to slow down and be more careful with his words. He's clear about owning up to what he did, insisting that those who know him are well aware of his integrity. Speaking of integrity, he clarified that in the interview he was referring to the way things were being handled, nothing more. Meanwhile, Monique told Essence about her journey towards patience, especially in highlighting Hollywood's pay inequity for Black women. She understands the fear of losing out, which leads people to accept less than they deserve. Monique feels it's crucial to stand up for what's right, not just for her sake, but for future generations. She believes in doing her part, honoring the struggles of those that came before her or will come after her. This whole situation started brewing after the release of the 2009 movie Precious, which was produced by Oprah and Tyler Perry and directed by Lee Daniels. Monique's stellar performance in the film, winning her an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress, led to Oprah and Tyler asking her to join the press tour for the movie. So here's the interesting bit though. They didn't want to pay Monique for the Precious tour. Monique chose to turn it down, preferring to spend time with her family after all the effort she put into the film. As soon as she said no to Oprah and Tyler Perry, suddenly the media started to label her as tough and hard to work with. Just like that, Precious was a hit. The roles were then coming her way that disappeared like magic. It seemed like Hollywood just closed its doors on her. Monique shared that the Hollywood Reporter that Lee Daniels let slip was being sidelined in the industry. When she pressed him for a reason, he said it was because she didn't play the game. When she asked Daniels what she meant by the game, he didn't have much of an answer, but it's not hard to guess what he meant. It's like they're saying that all Black entertainers have to put Oprah up on a pedestal and never cross her or else. But Monique didn't stay quiet. In a 2015 interview, she claimed that the movie director, along with Perry and Winfrey, were responsible for her being blacklisted in Hollywood. One of the networks even told Lee that she was difficult to work with. Monique's take on this? If someone says she's difficult, they're probably heartless or don't value people. Coming from a blue-collar town, she's learned never to let anyone push her around or treat her badly. She believes in standing up for what's right. Now, you might think this was the only time Oprah let down Monique, but surprisingly, that's not the case. Back in 2009, when Precious was released, Monique and Oprah were quite close, especially since both had similar traumatic experiences in their childhood. So things really turned sour between Oprah and Monique because of an incident with Monique's family. Oprah called Monique before filming an episode, saying her brother Gerald Imes wanted to apologize for severely mistreating her as a child. Monique wasn't keen on being part of it, but agreed to let the episode go ahead. But when it aired, not only was her brother on it, but also her parents and other brother, all downplaying what she had gone through. Monique felt betrayed, essentially knowing Oprah knew she was estranged from her mother and she wouldn't have agreed to being on the show.
You did do something wrong. You maliciously, and you had full intentions of having my parents on your show and not saying anything to me. Was that for ratings?
When Monique tried reaching out to Oprah to talk about it, she got nowhere. She tried contacting everyone possible to get through to Oprah, but it was like hitting a brick wall. Fast forward to 2014, after years of silence, Monique and Oprah ended up at the same event. Monique, tired of being ignored, decided to confront Oprah publicly. She was like, "Since you're not returning my calls, let's deal with this here." Monique asked Oprah why her parents were on that episode. Oprah responded, saying they just showed up with her brother and she had no idea. She then told Monique she'd look into it and sort of apologized if she caused any offense. But to Monique, that apology didn't feel genuine at all.
An apology is not something that you think you need to give if somebody else thinks you need to give it.
Do you think Oprah really meant it when she publicly discussed the allegations Monique had made against her? Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments below.